Joy News Prime.
This is indeed Joy News Prime, a news bulletin also available across Europe on ABN television based in London. Over the next 2 hours, we'll bring you business, sports, entertainment, and the biggest headlines, as well as your social media comments. In the headlines, government initiates discussions with Nigeria in a bid to avert a possible cut in gas supply with implications for Ghana's electricity situation. Western Region Ghana Journalists Association condemned Facebook comments by presidential staffer over reportage on motor accident involving journalists who covered President Mohammed's recent trip to the region. Meanwhile, widow of deceased Flagstaff House presidential correspondent who lost his life in a recent motor accident demands investigative report into the crash. And Ghana Health Service shares positive findings about new food supplement for breastfeeding infants, it says, would significantly reduce maternal deaths and child malnutrition. And later on, Abigail Adoma-Quincy will be here with the business news. We have all that and more coming up. Please stay tuned. Our very first story. The wife of the former Ghanaian Times reporter who died in an accident involving journalists reporting from the presidency about 2 months ago is demanding access to the investigative report into circumstances leading to the car crash. There has been conflicting accounts as to what happened on that fateful day, and Lillian Nuama says the report will bring her closure and help her get on with her life. In an interview with Joy News, she said she has waited for too long for the report. She spoke with Francis Aban.
I'm at the residence of Lillian Nuama, the wife of Samuel Nuama, the man you would recall almost 2 months ago died under very tragic circumstances in the eastern region as part of the presidential press corps who were involved in a fatal motor accident. That was almost 2 months ago on the 20th of August 2015. And it's been almost 2 months down the line. A lot has changed. We're here to speak to the wife of Samuel to find out how life has been for her in this very difficult months after the husband passed on. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Thank you. And how are you today? Tell me that scene when you got to see him.
I just went to see him. I told him, Sammy, you asked me to come. But this was not how I was supposed to come to see you lying down. You kept asking that you wanted us to meet, but this is not how we planned it. This is not what you told me. 3 years down the lane that I was going to come bury you just after 3 years of marriage.
And after, sorry that I've had to let you cry this afternoon, but after seeing the body, he's buried, what was on top of your mind? From that time till now, how has it been for you?
It has been thinking. I've been thinking, I've been planning. What do I do with Josiah now the dad is not here? What are the way forward? As a single mom, I have to make some decisions. So it's just planning and thinking, what next? What will make Josiah comfortable without a dad? It's been a lot of planning. And
you told me earlier that it's been very difficult. It's not the same without him. What are some of the things that you easily recall or you miss?
I miss the phone calls. I even miss our quarrels.
Your quarrels?
Like our misunderstanding. You just miss everything about the person. Your misunderstandings, and you just miss the whole show. Everything about him, you miss it. Even your misunderstandings, you miss everything.
Okay.
You just miss everything.
Do you sometimes dream about him?
I've been trying to, but it's not coming.
You actually pray for it?
I pray. I'll say him, come and tell me something. Come and give us a farewell, because we didn't give ourselves a farewell. I've been asking some young widows, do you see your husband? Did you see your husband? What did you do? I've been praying, I've been asking, I've been doing everything. I've been calling him.
From that time till now, have they been giving you information about the investigation that has been done, that you were promised?
I haven't received any information yet. I don't know whether they are trying to make it one and bring it to me, but I don't know whether because maybe I'm not asking, but I've not received any information yet as to. I still have some questions. Who was the driver? Was he licensed? Was he an experienced driver?
Tell me all your questions.
That's what I'm saying. I want to know who the driver was. Was he licensed? How long has he been driving? Has he been trained for such a purpose like this? I still have some questions on my mind.
I just saw Josiah walk past. I mean, he's been walking around for a while now. How has he been taking it, his father not being around?
That has been the tough part that I keep saying. He keeps asking for the dad. I tried to explain to him, Daddy is going to heaven. He wants you to be a good boy. But he doesn't seem to get it down. And his father used to visit him every weekend when he doesn't go to school. And on weekends, he asks for his dad.
All the time?
All the time.
We wish you well.
Thank you.
That everything you want, you would get.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's the wife of the late Samuel Onyama. It's been 2 months since he passed, and the wife has been telling us how life has been in the past 2 months. She wants the investigative report released as soon as possible, so the lessons are learned and any action that has to be taken in improving the living conditions of journalists, especially for those who work at the presidency, will be changed. From her residence here at Tema, I'm Francis Aban for Joy News.
All right, so we've tried to make contact with the police and with the authorities involved to try and get some update as to how far with the investigative report into the accident. We haven't been very successful, but our checks with the authorities also tell us that there's not much to report as far as the investigations is concerned. But in another development, the Western Region Chairman of the Ghana Journalists Association has condemned presidential staffer Stan Dogbe over his comments about an accident involving some journalists covering President Mahama's tour of the Western Region. In a Facebook post, Mr. Dogbe described media reports on the accident as irresponsible, apparently in response to accounts that the accident involved the Flagstaff House Press Corps. Journalists in the Western Region have, however, not taken kindly to the comments by the presidential staffer. Moses Aklobotu is a regional chair of the Ghana Journalists Association.
We've been to their places and we've spoken to the other, and then the City FM, for instance, we contacted Accra, and they actually in close contact with us as what to do, and I have spoken to DJ Accra about the incident unofficially, but I will be making other submissions to them later. But what became an issue has to do with the response that our colleague Stan Dogbe actually posted on social media. Much as we all try to deplore how social media is being used, I think even though it's a good or bad medium to use, it is wrong for him to have gone to actually post and denounce the media in the region. He lost a lot of respect, and he lost the respect for the profession that propelled him himself to be where he is today. I think the best thing to do, the two sides, he as the presidency and the rest of the media houses, have to tango, because we can't continue this way. Tomorrow is this about Stan Dogbe, tomorrow is that about Stan Dogbe. It is just not right that for you to do that, because definitely in some of his responses on the Facebook, he actually indicated that he didn't even see anybody. When his members of his team actually interacted with even some of my regional executive people who know, and they told them about the shift system that they ran at the presidency, first time and strange to me anyway. So I think we just have to find a middle ground somewhere. It's irresponsible that he used that is not fair. Some of his responses are so disheartening. It's just not fair. We are not saying we want to be recognized, I'm a journalist, and my job is to nose and get the news for my news desk, for which I'm paid for. I'm paid every month. So at the end of the day, I don't need to be invited. Once I heard or talked about, I will follow up and get it all right. But I shouldn't be treated with such a level of contempt.
Now, Ghana's legal aid scheme is struggling to provide support for people who cannot afford to contract lawyers as they come face to face with the justice delivery system. As the nation observes a week of activities to highlight the work of the scheme, an activist with the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative is suggesting that paralegals could be brought in to help. Latif Idris reports.
Ghana, like any other country that follows the common law tradition, requires the state to provide legal representation for any citizen suspected of breaking the laws. For those who cannot afford to pay the lawyers, the legal aid scheme is supposed to help uphold their rights to legal representation. However, in Ghana today, the legal aid system is virtually on its knees. Those without money to pay for legal representation are very likely to go to court without professional defense. It is against this background that the regional coordinator of Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Mina Mensah, made the passionate appeal for paralegals to be stationed at police stations to help suspects.
I think that I see the role of the paralegal as a support system. For example, we go to the police stations. When we have gathered all the information and there's the need to go to court, we liaise with pro bono lawyers. When there's an affidavit to be done, the lawyer directs. So the lawyer will probably tell you, do A, B, C, D, bring it to me, let me go through it. And then the process goes, you go to file, you do all those things. When it comes to going to court, we go to court. Because a lot of the problems start from there. If people have access to the right kind of information, if I know that if I'm arrested, I'm supposed to be taken through A, B, C, D, then I can challenge the system myself. So the linkage is, for me, the beginning should be done by the paralegal, and then when it comes to the actual legal work, it becomes the role of the lawyer.
But the president of Ghana Bar Association has expressed reservations about the call being made by the advocacy group. Benson Nchukwi says the distinction between paralegals who are supposed to provide support services for lawyers and the lawyers themselves must be made to prevent possible clash between the two entities.
I'm very interested in where do we draw the line? I was asking my Lord Justice Ansah, how would that operate in relation to the Legal Profession Act? And how do we supervise and ensure that if we ask some paralegals to do some work, they do not become more community laws and do more than they are required to do.
Meanwhile, some members of the legal aid scheme have threatened industrial action over delays in placing them on the single spine salary structure. But the executive director of the legal aid scheme, Al-Hassan Yahya Saini, says plans are far advanced to put members of the scheme on the new pay policy.
The legal aid scheme lawyers have not yet been brought on board, even though they ought to have been brought on board like the others as at the end of last month. But the idea is that the Accountant General is working out the systems of ensuring that everybody is brought on board on that harmonization program. So sooner than later, hopefully, the legal aid lawyers will be on the same level as their counterparts and colleagues in the other parts of the legal aid, of the justice delivery sector. Basically, that's what I can say for that.
To say that we are not going to see the industrial action?
I hope not.
You're watching Joy News Prime, and we're returning to our earlier story on the accident that happened in the Western region involving members of journalists covering the president's trip to that region. It happened on Monday, and our Western regional correspondent William Benjamin Peters was one of the journalists in that vehicle involved in that accident. He joins us now on the phone with an update. Good evening to you, Benjamin.
Good evening, Israel.
All right, where I was concerned about yourself and the rest of your colleagues. How are you faring?
Yeah, by God's grace, I'm recuperating. I'm just having some minor pains at my back and some waist pains as well. But I was given some injections yesterday, some drugs to administer. So hopefully, I pray everything will be okay. But the City FM correspondent is still on admission at the hospital. The doctor says he needs enough rest, and he's also still on admission. The one correspondent went for an X-ray this morning, and fortunately, the doctor said he has no bone fracture, but he started to report in 2 days' time for re-examining. And the rest of us also went for various checkups this morning, so that's the latest.
Right, I'm particularly concerned about the City FM correspondent. What's his situation?
I can say he's okay. He's okay, but the doctor says he needs enough rest, so he's still on admission. He hasn't been discharged, and they are keeping an eye on him to see what happens next. All
right, we hear the MPP in the Western region issued a statement on this accident. What are they saying about it?
Yeah, they are expressing their displeasure over some comments made by Standaway. And they believe that they should have been consoled. We should have received some soothing messages rather than what came out from Standaway. So they are just empathizing with us, and they are encouraging us.
All right, thank you very much. You heard William Benjamin Peters. He is our Western region correspondent. We're taking a break. We'll be back with more news. Please don't go away. Watching Joy News Prime. The Ghana Water Company says it needs about $2 billion to improve and expand water distribution across the country. To help raise the money, the water company is asking for a 120% increase in water tariffs. The Director of Geographical Information Services at the Ghana Water Company, Richard Apia-Otu, told Joy News on the sidelines of a public forum in Accra that the company is in dire need of cash to revamp its operations.
The figure I indicated that the company has spent on projects the past 5 years to build new treatment plants, to put in new pipelines to supply water to various places. There are currently projects in Wa, projects in Kumasi, projects in Winneba, Cape Coast. These are the current amount of borrowing, and these are loans that were contracted, long-term loans were contracted for the government of Ghana for Ghana Water to use to develop projects so that people can have access to revenue. These monies now, as government policy, has to be, we have to pay back all this money. So all these monies have to get into the tariffs, spread over time so that we can make sure that we pay our creditors and then get additional funding. As I also stated in the presentation, that we need about $2 billion to make sure that we achieve 100% coverage for all urban dwellers for the next 10 years. If we are able to get that resource in terms of money, we'll be able to build the needed system capacity and needed pipe infrastructure to supply water to every urban home in Ghana.
So you think people should pay more for tariff?
It is quite obvious that water tariffs that we pay right now is ridiculously very low. How much is a bottle of water compared to a bottle of a gallon of water? If you look at the ratios, it is something that you can calculate. And I can tell you that the quality of water you get through your pipes, the quality are world standards that I can vouch for. That's one, cost of chemical, two, power, energy, personnel, maintenance, development of new assets, all this come together to build up the cost for the tariff we are proposing. And then to be able to sustain the supply for very long term, we need that money to constantly renew our assets, because some of our assets are, you should provide capital maintenance for our assets so that we don't allow the assets to be broken down before the entire system is broken down. We start fixing. We need to make sure that we do constant maintenance and upgrades to our system to make sure that we continue to offer sustainable urban water supply to the citizens of Ghana.
The Food and Drugs Authority is warning it will go after all persons selling contaminated and adulterated food items on the Ghanaian market. Deputy Chief Executive of the FDA, Dr. John Odame-Dakwa, has told Joy News investigations have confirmed that palm oil is regularly adulterated with chemicals to enrich the color for more profit. He spoke with Beatrice Edu at a food safety campaign forum in Accra.
As I mentioned in my delivery, we've done investigations and we found that some people are adulterating their palm oil with Sudan dyes. some call it shudi, others call it asomudro. Some also are adulterating peanut butter, or what you call granite paste, with all kinds of things, cheap quality oil, and other things that give it bulk. People are even adulterating ground dried pepper powder with pear seed that have been ground and then added onto on. Now, after all this investigation, we are going out. We've had discussions with market queens on these issues. Now, what we are doing is to make sure that people understand the health implication of what they do. It may not impact negatively on food safety, but it impacts negatively as economic fraud, which the law of FDA also entitles us to make sure that we investigate and then make sure we take it out of our marketplace.
When were these investigations conducted?
It's even still ongoing, but so far the results we have got gives us the chance that, look, we need to move into action now. We've done a lot of education with market queens, but it looks like the education has been taken for granted. It's about time that we really give them a whip for them to know that, look, FDA will not continue to allow this to go on at the marketplace.
If you say now, are you starting tomorrow, maybe next month, when exactly?
Well, I don't need to tell them. The people at the market are very smart, and we want to take them by surprise. We want to name and shame people, for people to understand that they need to be compliant with the law, and you cannot make money at the expense of people's health.
Discussions are underway between government and officials of Nigeria Gas to try and avert a possible cut in gas supply to Ghana. The Nigerians supply natural gas through the West African Gas Pipeline Company to power thermal plants in Ghana. Former Chief Executive of the Volta River Authority, Dr. Charles Raku-Brobe, told Joy News Ghana owes the Nigerian gas firm about $180 million and warned that the power crisis in Ghana could get worse if urgent steps were not taken to meet Wednesday's deadline for payment. Fred Smith has been following the story and joins us now on the line with an update. Good evening to you, Fred. And what have you found out about these negotiations between Ghana and Nigeria over this debt?
Well, what we found out is that sources at the Power Ministry so far have confirmed that there's some debt that needs to be paid, just like Dr. Raku-Brobe mentioned, and we will have to do that quickly. We were told that Nigeria Gas wanted to cut supply to Ghana by tomorrow if we had not paid by tomorrow. And we understand from our sources at the Power Ministry that there's some negotiation ongoing to avert that one. But we also know that the WAPCO that supplies is the transporter for this power. And so since Ghana has not been able to pay Nigeria, it will be very difficult for Nigeria to also pay WAPCO. And over the period, WAPCO has been struggling to survive. And now, even if Nigeria decides not to cut power to Ghana, WAPCO will struggle to transport gas, LNG, to Ghana for the production of gas, of electricity.
Fred, do we know the status of these discussions, or if any progress at all has been made?
Well, our sources at the Power Ministry will not confirm what stage they've got into, but they say they're making progress, and that's very difficult to understand what stage that is. But we know that it's still affecting the operations of WAPCO, and at the end of the day, Ghanaians could suffer some power crisis if we do not pay this money.
All right, thank you very much, Fred Smith. And Fred Smith has been briefing us about the very latest on discussions between Ghana and Nigeria to avert a possible cut in gas supply to Ghana. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you business. It's time now for business, and Abigail Adumakwintri is here. Good evening to you, Abigail.
Good evening, Israel.
Right, so I'm told there's been yet another downgrade of our credit rating.
Right, by Moody's, and this time around they are hitting Eurobond. I mean, government's intention to go for the Eurobond, and I'm sure there'll be some implications. I don't know what government is going to do right now.
There certainly will be some implications, but Is it ever going to end? These downgrades and
I really
bad
hope,
news.
I really hope one of these days we'll get some good news.
Moody news coming through. All right, carry on with business.
Right, and we'll start with something to do with Ghana and Switzerland. And Ghana remains Switzerland's second largest trading partner in sub-Saharan Africa after South Africa at the end of 2014. That's according to a report released by the Swiss-Ghanaian Chamber of Commerce. According to the chamber, while the trading volume between Switzerland and Ghana continues to be modest, there is an unexploited potential for increased exports from Switzerland to Ghana. Here's more.
Switzerland's historically negative balance of trade with Ghana widened further, amounting to about 164 million cedis in 2014 compared to 125 million Ghana cedis in 2013. The total trading volume expanded slightly to 415 million cedis in 2014, up from around 403 million Ghana cedis in 2013, which was the net result of a modest rise of imports by 9.9% and fall of exports by 9.4%, excluding gold, which represented the single most important import product from Ghana. 99.2% of the remaining imports in 2014 were agricultural products, in particular cocoa. Ghana remains Switzerland's most important source of cocoa imports in 2014, representing close to 50% of total cocoa imports. Switzerland's exports to Ghana remained concentrated on chemical and pharmaceutical products and machinery goods, which continue to account for 74% of exports.
Fishermen in the central region have been complaining about the quality of outbound motors they received from government. This came up at a meeting between President Mahama and fisherfolk in Cape Coast as part of the president's tour of the region. Fishermen told the president their outboard motors break down too easily. But President Mahama had this diagnosis of the problem.
Outboard motors
The leader of the fisher folk who first spoke complained about the quality of the outboard motors being provided by government. But as you can see, this is Yamaha. It has the capacity to perform. He also mentioned that in the past, outboard motors lasted longer. But we can attest to the fact that in the past, the canoes and boats were smaller. Now they are bigger. So if you are unable to get outboard motors with the capacity to move the boats, they end up spoiling the outboard motors. So there is a need to look at the capacity of the outboard motors and the size of the canoes.
Now, one kofa a shank kakaka, ankofa 15 horsepower motor outboard motor and say, and ever say. Na da your teacher out your shot said that your teacher outboard motors no. Your rain fee, your mamma fishmongers. If you say a man in Niwa, afraid Jumano, a begu, afraid Jumano Suniho. Because normal and normal tongue and
in improving the sector, fishmongers were not left out. Government is putting together a credit facility for our mothers in order for them to grow their businesses.
Fishmongers, Ghana, hanging now. I'm so much and I'm saying, the teacher here and the crack the Bayajuma. And the fisheries minister or Yan Shishe, them a revolving credit be na Edia Momo, and to Wemu Chia near my Wemu, now Wemu Chia near my Wemu, them a bear almost so Omejumano every tumpong.
Now, a member of parliament for Futu in the central region, Alexander Fenyomaking, has found himself in some bit of trouble over bribery allegations made against him. The allegations border on a tape making the rounds in which he is said to have requested money to throw a case in which he is representing one of the parties. He is said to have been arrested over the weekend following a petition filed by 3 National Democratic Congress activists to the Inspector General of Police, the Criminal Investigations Department, and 7 other organizations to investigate the leaked tape. I've been joined now in the studio by Evans Mensah, who's been following this story and knows a bit more about it. Good evening to you, Evans.
Good evening, Israel.
What more do you know about the fact that he was arrested over the weekend, we're told, and I'm sure he's since been granted bail?
I spoke to his colleague, MP for Menchia South, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, tonight, who says essentially he was asked to come and help with investigations, and so he wrote a statement. We also understand that the petition went in, but before the police could follow up and get him in, he had submitted himself already to the police, and so he put in a statement, and he's been asked to go as investigations continue. And so the police are currently still looking into the claim of extortion, that they are investigating right now based on the report that was filed by 3 individuals. Now we are learning, we spoke to one of them who says that in fact they are all NDC activists. And one of the things they did that has generated some controversy is copy their petition not only to the NDC, but we understand also to other institutions like the Peace Council, etc., because they wanted to bring a bit more pressure to bear.
All right, so what exactly is on this tape? What is he supposed to have said on this purported tape?
I think it has to be said, first of all, that he's not said that his voice is on the tape. So it's, at this point, pure allegation. You can say the voice is purported to be his. He says he's not said anything about whether that is his voice or not. But that voice on the tape is heard trying to negotiate of a sort over a 1 million CD payout of a sort, so for this individual to throw a case. And eventually it comes down to 250,000 CDs. And the accusation is that this voice allegedly is that of the MP Afenya Marking, who was making the claims, the demands from this other individual, so that the case will be thrown. In fact, there's a suggestion on the tape that, we will just go to court and play some gymnastics, and then the case will go nowhere. And once it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court pronounces on it, because he deliberately pursue the case in a manner that will make sure that he loses. Once the Supreme Court declares on the matter, it is highest court of the land. Nobody else can go back and essentially seek to challenge it, and therefore this IPO will simply get out of the way. The challenge will get out of the way for ADB to go ahead.
All right. So and I'd like to just reiterate again that we don't know for a fact that the voice on the tape is his, and we haven't gotten any confirmation from him that that's his voice. But he is also the lawyer for ADB, interestingly, or it may be a coincidence that he happens to be the lawyer for the union workers who were taking ADB to court, trying to stop the IPO.
I know also that he was representing another colleague MP, Dr. Asibe Yeboah, in this particular case, because he is the plaintiff in the case. He's simply a lawyer acting for Dr. Mark Asibe Yeboah in this case. Yes, and today, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, who is a colleague MP for Menchia South, was making the point that as far as he is concerned, what is happening to Afenya Marking right now with the police investigations is simply a grand political scheme by the NDC to try and get him to lose face in his constituency of Futu. And so then NDC can capitalize on that and win the 2016 elections. The NDC, obviously, we spoke to the national organizer. They dismissed that, quite strongly, and but they say that they back any person who wants to take on corruption. And again, Matthew Opoku Prempeh alleges that, in fact, this is not the first time his colleague Afenya Marking has been offered money because of some, advocacy work he's doing. In fact, he cites the case of the district level elections, that the botched one. He went to court and secured the court order to stop the EC from going ahead because the constitutional provisions regarding that had been breached. He says today, Dr. Opoku Prempeh tells us that, in fact, when that case was in court, before the verdict was delivered, he had been offered money to throw that case too. And he again accuses the NDC executives of being behind that attempt to bribe him to throw that particular case, and that he rejected that and went ahead and won the case. And his point is that why would he do that in that case, and yet he's alleged to have taken money in this other case, and so he believes this is simply politics.
It would be good actually to finally get to speak to Afenyomakin himself. One, to get to hear from him about whether that was his voice on the tape and about all these allegations that have come up and, you know, those that have come
I called
up
him several times. He would answer his phone, but let's see. I mean, now the investigations have opened. He's a lawyer. He knows. He will not say anything that will incriminate him. But let's see how next week pans out. Because I'm hearing suggestions that maybe next week we'll hear his side of the story.
All right. Thank you very much, Evans Mensah. And Evans Mensah, he's head of our political desk, but he's here talking about some corruption. All right, it's now time for entertainment, and Ms. J is here. Good evening to you, Ms. J.
Good evening, Israel.
All right. One of the, well, all day, each time I meet any lady, I'm asking, are you observing No Bra Day?
Say again.
Why? I'm asking if you're observing No Bra Day.
Oh, is it because you're Israel Bobi that you're asking?
No.
Well, am I supposed to be telling? You're supposed to be seeing. I'm supposed to be observing, so you're supposed to be looking and seeing.
Okay, you're wearing a bra.
I am not. If you can see, you can tell I am not.
It's obvious.
I am not. I am not. I am not wearing a bra.
It's obvious. It's obvious. You can't deceive anybody.
I am not. You want to check? You want to check?
Well, we can do that on live TV. So.
Okay, so at least you missed the opportunity to know if I am or not.
But it's obvious to me that you're not.
Okay, that's what you said. You just said that. But rapper Sarkodie posted a tweet saying that his respect for Joy 99.7 FM had dropped from 100% to 0% after myjoyonline.com published a story from his interview with Dr. Pounds on Hits Gallery, where he indicated that he had come of age and outgrown the media. Though the publication was pulled down by myjoyonline.com after his tweet, the rapper, in a conversation with Kweku Sintim Misa on his Thank God It's Friday show, explained his tweet, expressed his love for Joy FM, and in what seemed like an apologetic mood, admitted that his choice of words were disrespectful.
All right, so I think it's an episode that we should all put behind us. If he says here he's apologized, but it was a very fine way of you to avoid the conversation we're having about boobs, to move on just like that. Right, good evening. It's time for sports, and Kwame Jumajamang is here. And the Black Stars have a game coming up, a friendly coming up.
That's right.
In about 3 minutes, 3 hours.
3 hours, just under 3 hours, I think.
About 3 hours. And we're coming up against Canada. Is it something to worry about?
You look like you want to sleep before the game, which I think it's quite unfair. I mean, just stay up and watch the game, and then tomorrow when you come in, we can do some chit-chat about it.
I'll sleep. I'm not sure I want to watch the game, really.
Well,
I'll see the highlights tomorrow.
Well, it's still only a friendly, so I'm sure a lot of fans will be really looking forward to the highlights later tomorrow morning. But the Black Stars are preparing seriously for this friendly international against Canada, which will be kicking off in the next 3 hours. And head coach Avram Grant has been speaking ahead of this game.
We are happy to play against Canada. Canada is, I follow this football because I don't know if you know, my cousin Avram Grant is citizen of Canada for the last 40 years, the same name, and the football developed very well there. I was in a game Toronto against Chicago last week, and it was a good game. The last game that I saw, it was Toronto against the Cosmos more than 20 years ago. So the football developed a lot, and of course from our side we will concentrate about our game, and we want to make the best from this game.
And ahead of this game as well, the Black Stars Management Committee Chairman George Free is calling on the Ghanaian fans who are going to be at the stadium to respect the Canadian side and does not think that we'll be running over our opponents.
And having followed football over the years, you don't underrate a team like Canada. At least you are assured from where we sit, we are aware that most of their players are playing in Major League Soccer. And if you have about 4 of our own players who are also playing in the Major League Soccer, in what measure would you say that they are a walk or a pushover or a walkover? I personally think that we give them respect. We believe that they possess the qualities that we expect, and it's going to be a very tough game, but trust Ghana. I mean, we have our own pedigree and we also have our image to protect, and we'll do everything in our power to make sure that we win this game. That is not to say that the Canadians are pushover, not at all. I mean, from what we've seen, I mean, at least we've done a bit of research about the team and we know that they have some quality in the team.
It. Before we go to a quick round to our top stories, government has initiated discussions with Nigeria in a bid to avert a possible cut in gas supply with implications for Ghana's electricity situation. The Western Region Ghana Journalists Association has condemned the Facebook comments by presidential staffer Sandogbe over a reportage on the motor accident involving journalists who covered President Mohammed's recent trip to the region. The widow of the deceased Flagstaff House presidential correspondent who lost his life in a recent motor accident is demanding the investigative report into the crash. The Ghana Health Service has been sharing some positive findings about a new food supplement for breastfeeding infants. It says will significantly reduce maternal deaths and child malnutrition. And the very final headline is the fact that Memphis West MP has died. That's it for the bulletin. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.